Hey everybody, welcome back to the Outcomes Rocket. Saul Marquez here, and I want to introduce you to an awesome healthcare leader. His name is Mike Monovoukas. He is the co-founder and CEO at AcuityMD. Prior to launching AcuityMD, he was a Medtech entrepreneur. He also held a leadership role at Patient Ping, a leading provider of care coordination software. And he's just an incredibly well-rounded individual that also started his career as a management consultant at Bain & Company. So I'm excited to have him here. He's also recently been named, I forgot to say, one of Boston's Journal's 40 Under 40. With that intro, I want to welcome you to the podcast, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Saul. It's great to be here, and I'm excited to dive in with you.
Likewise. So Mike, you guys are doing some game-changing stuff in really kind of the tech space for medtech companies. I'm excited to dig into this. I wasn't going to say CRM because I know you guys do a lot more than that. You'll help us understand. But to begin with, what is it that got you into healthcare?
Our mission at AcuityMD is to accelerate adoption of medical technology. I'm really passionate about getting new and innovative medical technologies out to market. From a, services and software perspective, the medical device industry for the longest time has been neglected, has been kind of forced to use software and data that was intended for other use cases and for other industries. And so with AcuityMD, we wanted to build a platform that was dedicated to the medical technology industry, helping them bring their products to market. And I think, we all interact with the healthcare system in one capacity or another. And, I think that personal experience helps you identify gaps and also the benefits of having access to really great care and great technology. So I'll tell you one quick story about what, gets me up in the morning about our mission and how I just see immense opportunity in the market that we serve. So, I'm a new dad. So my baby boy Leo is 3 months old.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Yeah, we're doing well. It's our first, so we're still, settling in. But so he
Yeah.
was born a preemie,
Oh, wow.
and it was kind of a crazy emergency situation. But long story short, he's doing great. Wife's doing great. Mom's doing great. Um,
That's awesome.
But when we were at the hospital, sort of after that emergency, after he was born, I remember talking to our OB and, her saying, "Hey, there was nothing you guys could do. It was just kind of like a random occurrence. We didn't know what was happening, but everyone's safe. And so you're good." And I asked her, our OB, about this new technology that had just been approved by the FDA that could predict these emergencies well in advance and could kind of prepare families and the care teams to be on the lookout for early symptoms. And she had no idea. Meanwhile, we delivered at the Brigham, which is the number one rated OBGYN hospital in the
Yeah, it's a
world.
great hospital. Great hospital. Yeah.
And she had no idea about this technology. And it's interesting, even at the best institutions, teaching institutions in the US, they still struggle staying on top of all the standard of care, kind of new cutting edge technology that could impact the standard of care for their patients. So that's what gets me going every morning. And that even at we're making incredible strides in med tech, but even the best of the best still need education. They still need awareness of new technologies, and there's still opportunity to improve care for patients. So that's why I'm inspired to work in healthcare and to build AcuityMD.
Well, firstly, congrats on your baby boy. That's a blessing, and I'm glad your wife's doing well. And I agree. A big part of what we do too, Mike, is bringing awareness, right? Because there's so much out there, and the market is so noisy that people end up just tuning out a lot of things, and many which could be very helpful. So, on the topic of helpful technologies, can you help the listeners understand a little bit more about AcuityMD and the value you guys provide to the ecosystem?
MedTech companies on average will spend about 40% of their revenue on selling product, right? This is obviously administrative, expense, but it's also, hiring reps, managers, contracting teams to get their products out to market. Um, so it's really expensive to get a new product out to market. And what's interesting is some of the more innovative, high growth companies struggle getting their products because they just don't have enough sales reps to feet on the street to get after all those accounts. And so what we do at AcuityMD, I mentioned earlier, our mission is to accelerate adoption of medical technology. We want to provide best in class data and software to help med tech companies drive down the cost of commercialization, make it easier for them to get new products and new technologies out to patients and providers faster.
Mm.
And so we have an industry leading data set that we've aggregated. We put that data into an interface that is, meets sales reps where they work and helps them act and drive sales immediately. And so we meet the reps where they work on mobile via an audio experience, which I'll get to in a bit, but help them get their products to market more efficiently. So a high growth, med tech startup doesn't necessarily need thousands of sales reps canvassing the country to get their products out to market and drive sales.
Mike, I think you and I chatted, right? And folks, everybody knows I spent a good amount of time as VP of sales at Medtronic, and I did management roles at other companies like Stryker. It is a massive cost, and it is inefficient, and it's hard to get people to adopt things. So the work that you're doing, Mike, is truly, I think, revolutionary in what really a segment that's been long ignored really needs. So help us understand it better, Mike. Like, how is it that you guys are doing things differently than what's out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one is I'll go back to sort of where we started, which is, medtech has long been neglected. And so we built the solution specifically with the nuances of the medtech industry in mind. And so we're powered by a medtech specific data model. So for example, surgeons are surgeons, hospitals are hospitals, ASCs are ASCs, IDNs are IDNs, GPOs are GPOs. You don't have to create your own custom objects to manage all of the, complexity of the sale. You have all of those objects sort of purpose built in AcuityMD so that when you're selling a new product and you care about where you're on contract, where you're not on contract, what your price point is, you care about, well, which physician is operating at that account and where else do they operate? You have all that information at your fingertips. So you don't have to staff up a team of data engineers and, Salesforce.com administrators to build those solutions. We have them natively in the AcuityMD platform. So number one is because we've been able to build for the med tech industry in mind, we can, med tech companies don't have to invest additional resources to get our solution off the ground, right? It just works intuitively based on what they care about in their commercial model. So that's one differentiator is because we're building for the industry. The second differentiator um, is on, so we know we need industry leading data. And so we made a lot of investments building out that data asset that sits under the hood of AcuityMD. However, what good is that data if it's not actually used, right? If it's not actually used to drive decisions or actions or workflows, as a sales rep or a sales manager, like what's the ROI? And I'm sure like Saul, in your experience, you know, I'm sure you tried to send data out to reps, right? You tried to get
Yeah.
reps to act on data. So, and what we've done is like, we got to meet the reps where they work. Right. And that helps them, drive adoption. And it also helps commercial leaders track ROI of that expense. Right. So we don't want to sell, empty software that sits on the shelf. We want to sell a solution that drives ROI. And so by getting reps to adopt and use the solution and then, sharing those insights to our buyers, that's another differentiator, which is we drive action out of the data. And then, the next thing I'll say is, what's been your experience? I know I'm like kind of interviewing you, but I'm just curious. Like,
No, no, yeah, yeah. This is a great discussion. Go ahead. What were you going to ask?
I was going to ask, like, what's been your experience using CRM solutions in medtech?
And I was thinking about the data thing and like how much money companies spend and companies I've been with also on things like Definitive. And what do you do with that? It's just a subscription that sits there that you think or you do get some analytics, but the truth is like it's not being leveraged the way that it could be. Um, Yeah, I mean, look, the thing with CRMs, you do get some adoption, and we would see some adoption, but a lot that would happen, even all the way up the chain, man, is you still have a lot of Excels, spreadsheets, kind of reporting through spreadsheets, and it's basically the investment that you make in a Salesforce or whatever platform you decide to use. It just the ROI is not clear. So definitely an area of opportunity for sure.
One interesting insight, that we've had kind of talking to commercial leaders across medtech, a surprising number of these companies actually end up putting together spiffs or incentives for their reps to actually use a CRM, actually enter information into a CRM. And so for me as an entrepreneur, I think about that. And we have a sales team, and I want my sales team focused on revenue generating activities. And the last thing on my mind would be, let's pay them to enter information into a CRM. And I think that the challenge in med tech is that the sales reps, the reason that's happening is that information is very critical to the business, right? But sales reps traditionally don't have an incentive to use a CRM, so they need to be stiff to use the CRM. We invert that paradigm. And so we say, we're just helping reps get to quota faster. And we suggest opportunities based on the reps' product bags and based on the reps' territory and the ASPs of those products in that territory based on the contracts, that are present in that territory. We suggest opportunities for the reps and quantify those opportunities. So if wanted to go and convert Dr. Smith for this product line, well, she's worth about $127,000 a year, and that'll get you 10% closer to quota, right? So by putting and translating all that data into a rep facing workflow that's tied to how they get paid, how they get commissioned by hitting quota, reps automatically adopt, right? And you don't need to pay them to enter information because they want to enter the information because they want to see how close they're going to get to quota if they, convert this opportunity. So that's kind of how we've inverted the paradigm, which is we want to make this a resource and a platform for the reps so that they want to use it, not something that's a task or a tax on their time and revenue generating opportunities. So that's kind of how we've inverted how we think about CRM. And we're starting to see the shift in the med tech industry. And we've had several customers move off of, industry leading CRMs like salesforce.com, including in our
Really?
enterprise segment, including in our much
Wow.
larger customers. And we're barely scratching the surface of, the functionality that we're going to start rolling out in that, in that core CRM world.
Versus it being a data input engine, it is an insights dashboard that gives you what you need when you need it to help you get closer to your quota. Who wouldn't want that? I know a question on a lot of leaders' minds right now is probably like, damn, okay, cool. Well, people have left a Salesforce for AcuityMD, but what if we're deeply embedded with Salesforce? Is there an option for them?
Yeah, we have a native integration with Salesforce, and
Oh, you do?
a
Okay, cool,
lot of
cool.
customers, we actually help drive data fidelity and, to help push quality data into Salesforce. The reality is Salesforce and, traditional CRMs aren't targeting platforms, right? So they're meant to record information. They're not meant to suggest opportunities or suggest information. And so we help bridge the gap by giving the reps an interface to identify new targets. And if the company does want to, does want to use that integration into Salesforce, they can push those opportunities into Salesforce and manage the sales process that way. We can also iframe into Salesforce and sort of share data across systems. So we kind of live in both worlds,
That's cool.
where we integrate, but also can,
Standalone.
replace certain functionality. So you can imagine for our startup segment and our growth segment, they're thinking, okay, I just launched a product or I'm about to staff up a sales team. I need to go and buy data because I need to figure out where I'm going to target and how I'm going to segment the market. And then I also need to go buy a CRM to make sure that they're executing on that strategy. We combine both of those. For our startup segment, it becomes a much easier, all-in-one purchase.
I'm intrigued, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for leaders listening to this to think again about the approach? I know for a long time, it's been sort of forced on us to use a tool that the business needs to run and to operate, and I totally get that. But what if that tool is holding you back? And I can tell you that it probably is. And AcuityMD is definitely an opportunity for you guys to check out a difference maker. If you had to point to one technology or trend, Mike, that you think is going to change the game for medtech, what is it?
Yeah, I think the power of AI is going to transform all sorts of different facets in med tech. And, there's a lot to that, right? There's all the innovation in, image processing and, computer vision. I'm not going to get into that. There's all the kind of predictive analytics that you can apply in terms of outcomes data. I'm not going to get into all that. I'll keep it kind of what's going to help power the med tech rep, because that's the stakeholder we serve.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think, AI has a couple of different benefits. Number one is, we surveyed the sales reps that use AcuityMD, and we found that on average, the average med tech rep spends about an hour and a half in the car every day, right? So an hour and a half in the car every day. Well, that's time that they're not really spending, reading information about a surgeon, right? They're not spending Googling, they're not spending entering information into a CRM, right? They're driving, and it would be really unsafe for them not to. And self-driving cars aren't quite there where you can fully work, especially if you've got like a
not there
truck of
yet.
inventory, right? So what we did, what our product team and engineering team built was an audio-based experience to AcuityMD. So if I'm a sales rep in Dallas and I'm driving to a surgery center that's an hour away outside the city, I can tee up, essentially personalized audio briefs for the surgeons that I'm about to go call on and the account that I'm about to go call on. And it'll filter through all sorts of relevant information to me, like how many procedures is this surgeon doing? Are they conflicted with one of my competitors? What are my last notes about this account? What has the surgeon published recently? Who refers in and out of this surgeon's practice? So it'll feed you kind of audio-based experiences, so that, you can make use of that hour and a half in the car every day, and you can actually prepare on the road, to the rep. So we launched that. That's actually, rolling out in November. So, we're excited, to kind of roll that out to all of our customers and, hopefully, add value while they're in the car. And so I think AI, is a huge trend, and these audio-based experiences, will help, harness more productivity, for the reps.
That's great, Mike. Are you guys thinking about Gen AI at all, and maybe to help on maybe outreach and replies to emails?
Yeah, that's another great use case, as well. And, behind the hood of like how this audio-based feature works is we basically feed in a bunch of data into a language model and have it kind of spit out the text. And then we put that through a text to voice kind of system, right? So it is using generative AI, and we're feeding
Nice,
information about it.
nice.
Now to go the next step and, personalize a, sales message, to that prospect and say, okay, Dr. Smith, here's what you should consider for our sales call and for the product that we're launching, is certainly something that we're thinking about as well, and getting very personalized, email, templates, as well around there.
Talk about another time saver. If you have that type of capability, maximizing your time on the road while maximizing your time replying to emails. Hey, I gotta ask you this, Mike. Like, a big thing in this space that oftentimes is a pain point is quoting tools. Do you guys have a quoting tool, or is that part of what you guys offer?
So we're taking a little bit of a different approach on traditional quoting where, we want to make it add value to the teams that are responsible for negotiating pricing and contracting. So where we're actually starting is around contract management and around network management. So identifying, for any given IDN and GPO, where you have a pricing agreement in place, storing all the logic that backs that contract. So for example, what tiers, how are the tiers defined, and what are the volume commitments and, revenue commitments that that contract is associated with. And as a result, what does that mean for price, right? Because some of these contracts, as you know, have different price points based on the tier that they qualify for, or maybe they spit out rebates on the back end. So we're starting there by trying to make it easier for national accounts directors to structure, their agreements with IDNs, and track compliance to those agreements, and that'll unlock, more traditional quoting workflows for us down the road.
Mike, if you had to leave the listeners with a call to action, what would you leave them with?
Yeah, I would say number one is, uh, consider the ROI behind your investments in software and in data. Whether in med tech or not, I would always ask the vendor that you're working with, what's the ROI here? Like, why are we buying this? And too often we've seen companies come to us who purchase data or purchased a CRM just because that's the way it's always been done. And they have no idea if it's paid off. Right. And so they're making really big expenditures without any visibility in terms of ROI or even end rep adoption or ROI there as well. And so as 2023 has been a really challenging economy for a lot of companies. Um, Through that uncertainty, you still need to grow your business in a capital efficient way, and you got to make purchase decisions based on ROI. And that's good for everyone. It's also good for us to hold us accountable to the ROI we're generating for our customers. So I would just, my closing thought is, always ask your vendors about ROI and make sure they have a good answer on it, because otherwise they're just, going to sell you shelfware that's not really going to move the needle for your business.
If folks are curious after our conversation today and they want to learn more, where can they reach out?
Yeah, so they can reach out directly on our website, www.acuitymd.com. We'd be happy to schedule a demo or to meet with interested folks directly. You can also find me on LinkedIn as well. I would love to reach out to folks on LinkedIn and share more about our company's progress. So follow us on LinkedIn, follow me on LinkedIn, reach out via our website, and we'd love to talk.
Outstanding. Well, there you have it, folks. We will leave ways to get in touch with Mike and his team in the show notes. So make sure you take advantage of that. Don't stop at listening. We've laid out some really cool options for you. Take action. That's how you get into the rocket. That's how you get outcomes. And Mike, I want to thank you for taking action and being with us today. This has been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Saul. It was great to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
It was a pleasure.